Yeah, but I know that when I tell you these stories, you think, what an exciting time.
Yeah.
And it was in a way, and I missed it when I came back because that's why I used to go up in the hills and do all that walking and adventure because I missed the adventure. That's why I went there in the first place, for this sort of romantic adventure of it. So I was going inspecting certain um, um, locations in which I've been having my African assistants have been doing some work, some projects and things like that. And I took him with me, and on his first sort of maiden tour. And so we went across this first river. Oh, it's a stream really. Well, it was nothing. It was about this deep, 18 inches deep, foot deep.
Yeah.
Well, we went through the Land Rover. He said, "Oh, you went through that?" I said, "Oh, yeah, no problem." So we went through this river, and we stayed out for a couple of nights, and then I think it was Saturday morning we were travelling back, and we came back to this river, and it had been.
That's somebody.
Yeah.
Funny hiccuping.
Yeah.
It had rained the previous night,
Right.
and we got there. There was we used to call it a drift. That is where the river bank had been cut down like that into a road, and the incline made through and probably cemented across the bottom of the river, and then the incline up the other side. So we knew that the river had risen to 14 feet because there was a lorry which had gone down to the edge of the river, decided he couldn't get through because it was too deep, tried to reverse up again and jutted into the bank and got stuck. Whereupon the water came up to 14 feet and came right over the cab, and we could see the tide mark of the top of the cab and the back of the lorry sticking out. Completely swamp. So, but by the time we got down, it had gone down to about 3 foot. So it was like this, 3 foot. But you can't get through 3 foot with a Land Rover. I said, well, we can't get through here. I said, let's explore a bit further down the river or up the river and see if we can find a place which is, a bit shallower and perhaps wider, and we might be able to get across. Which we did find somewhere, but I'm still dubious about getting across. I said, no, I'm not going across there. I said, we'll have to go back and wait for it to subside. Well, it did subside. From 14 foot, it's subsiding really quickly because, it's torrential at the time, but it runs off very quickly as well.
Yeah.
But it still hadn't quite got down to my satisfaction before 5 o'clock. I noticed big clouds coming up, and then it started again. Absolutely tipped down. So anyway, I didn't manage to get the inner part of the tent up at all. We got the mosquito nets, and we got into the bed because the water was coming through from one side to the other, like a river. So we got onto the bed. We got onto our beds, and the water was flowing underneath. Not deep, Anyway.
Oh, you had those metal frame beds, did you?
Yeah, well, just X-frame beds, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you sort of
We're about this
bounce
high.
it off.
We'd be about that high.
Yeah.
And we got some mosquito nets, and the water was running right through the tent. It wasn't even the tent because we'd only got the fly sheets up.
Oh, God.
But anyway, it was all right. Didn't bother us. We went to sleep. Woke up in the morning and the rain had stopped. The sun came up. Went back again. It was Sunday. Waited all day there. And he's starting to get, the youngster was getting a bit fractious, bored. He said, don't you think you could get through? I said, oh, you were bloody well. You were worrying about getting through at 18 inches when we come out. Now you think I can force through at 3 foot? No. I said, I've taken the fan belt off. I've baffled up the exhaust pipe. I know what I'm going to be when I can go across here. And they'll go across when I say. So, so all day, and it's getting down to about this sort of level, you know, coming down. Can we go yet? No, not yet. Clouds start to come up.
Oh no.
No.
Rain coming out, rush back again. Whole scenario again. Same thing happened. That's Sunday night gone.
You right? Can I help?
Then we're Monday. So we go down again. We wait all day. 5 o'clock, up come the clouds, down comes the rain. We got,
Every time.
We ran out of food. We had to go and find some food. We did manage to find
Get to a village or
yeah,
something.
some village,
Kill a crocodile.
some little shop.
Shoot a crocodile.
But it wasn't. It's a really scrappy old stuff. And then so we got to Tuesday. So we started Saturday. We'd been there, stuck there, and this is Tuesday morning. We're still stuck there. And then about 10:30, Nigel appears on the other side of the Land Rover.
Playing the piano.
Love that Nigel. Yeah. Nigel Costa, he's our boss. Well, I thought you'd be there, John. I said, God, it takes you a long time to think about it, Nigel. We've lost quite a bit of poundage here. We haven't got any food. So anyway, he brought a driver down with him, one of our drivers. We had got a foot thing we could go across, but of course it was no use to us because we got too far to walk. You know, it was 20 miles or something, or 25 miles backwards. So that's where we'd stayed. So the driver came across on the bridge. We went across and jumped in the Land Rover Nigel and went back. And the driver brought my Land Rover back the next day. But anyway, that was his first experience of going on tour with the agriculture department. Because another occasion when I went set off, this same agricultural officer, he rang me up and he said, John, he said, I'd like you to come, I'd like to see you. I said, when? She said, today. I said, today? I said, what? I said, it's 11 o'clock. I said, you're going to get a few hours to get to you, like 3 hours or something like that travelling. So he said, yes, I'd like to see you today. And it wasn't about, and it wasn't anything bloody all that important. So I said, oh, okay. I said, well, all right. I said, I'll get going about 1 o'clock then. So about 1 o'clock I set off, and after about an hour I came across another Land Rover coming the other way, and it was a policeman, and we stopped because there's nothing on the road, or the main road, but I mean there's nothing on the road.
Do you normally do that when you see another car?
Yeah, well, no, it depends, you know. But, you know, I could see that, you know, I don't know why I stopped, but anyway, you don't always stop, but I mean, we did.
Yeah.
And so we stopped, we drew alongside each other. He said, I said, what's it like down there? I said, through that bad part where they're redoing the road, through that swampy bit. So he said, well, it's all right. I said, I got through. He said, I don't like the look of those clouds though coming up there. I said, no, it looked a bit poor. So, anyway, that was it. Yeah. Anyway, see you, bye. He was a cadet or something, he was a youngster, but not an experienced bloke. But I was experienced, very experienced. I was a veteran, you know, about 3 years or something, 4 years, second tour or something like that.
Yeah.
They didn't bother about me. And I set off, and then it started. Fucking rain came down in bloody windscreen wiper packed up, and I was having to do this with the windscreen wiper. The mud was coming over the windscreen, and they're driving along. Eventually, we come to it. Did this all the time again.
A hand on that.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
From inside?
They got a little handle.
This
Oh,
part,
brilliant. Handle.
this
That's
part
great.
I'd
No
mentioned,
way.
the swamp, well, the bloody lorry was stuck in there, and terrible. Anyway, managed to get through, starting to get dark. Then we get into the swamps. All I can see, we go through these bloody swamps, the road comes out, the road goes into the water. Then you go through the water, then the road comes out, then you go into the water again. Then every time we went in the water, had to go into lower gear ratio. That's pretty low.
Yeah. Oh, you got the half gear ratios, haven't
Yeah,
you?
that red knob. So I press that red knob down. I did that about 6 times. Go through these one. I press this red knob down. Oh shit! The red knob goes straight down to the bottom
This
on
is
the
one
floor.
I was saying.
It's just the red knob sitting on the floor. Ah. What's happened? To get out in the dark with a torch, mosquitoes, rain, swamp. Look underneath the torch. Oh, I can see what's the trouble is. These Land Rovers are so crude. It's just this knob, this handle goes onto a thing like that.
Split pin.
It's got a pin and a split pin.
Split
yeah.
pin,
And
yeah.
the split pin had come out. So I thought if I can get a nail, I can get that through there and put that nail and bend it, I'll be all right. So, and I did it. And I found the nail and I put it in and bent the nail. I worked it. It worked. Oh, crap, get in all bloody covered in mud and swamp and bloody mosquitoes. I had to bath off again. So hours and hours. They came across this, and right in the middle of this swamp is a truck. One of these what they call the little sort of lorry thing, truck thing, and in it there were 2 people just sitting there, and they conked out and they were just sitting there in this bloody swamp. So I said, "Oh, you better get him with me. I'll take you back to Mungo. I'm going that way." So in there.
How long have they been there?
In
for?
there, I don't know. You know, they've been trying to get through. I don't know where they were going, but they got in. So we continue on to this one, and gradually I noticed the lights were getting fainter and fainter, and then the bloody lights went out. Oh, they are. The alternators packed up now.
What?
The alternator.
You can't go
We've
anywhere
got
without an
no
alternator.
bloody. We've only got the battery, so switch the lights on. But we still could go. There was still enough spark to keep it going. And eventually the moon came out. So we could see where we were going. Remember, the moon came out. We had no lights, but the moon came out. And we got on to the last 10 miles have been tarmac, and but only 10 miles. And this was 110 miles. 110 miles. I got in at 2 o'clock in the morning to this bloody chief agricultural officer's house. Knock, knock, knock. He comes up to the. He came out of the door. He said, "I've arrived." It's taken 13 hours to do 110 miles.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
through these bloody
Covered in
swamps.
mud.
Because he said he wants me to be there today.
That's less than 10 miles an hour.
What happened in the end then?
Well, he just said, "Come in." He said, "I've got a bedroom for you. Going down there, do the first song left, and we have a, they'll see you in the morning." And
What was it? Did he have a reason?
oh, I can't even remember something trivial, nothing bad. And but it was quite an adventurous night.
That's why you were there though, Dad.
Yeah, but I know that when I tell you these stories, you think, what an exciting time.
Yeah.
And it was in a way, and I missed it when I came back because that's why I used to go up in the hills and do all that walking and adventure because I missed the adventure. That's why I went there in the first place, for the sort of romantic adventure of it. But you've got to bear in mind that all these anecdotes are pressed together, and there's quite a lot of boring stuff in between.
Always is, isn't
Yeah.
there?
We've had a few adventures, a lot, haven't we,
Yeah.
together on
Yeah.
Tryfan and things.
Yeah.
I mean, your lot, when you turned up in your camper van,
Oh my god.
I was with William and Laura.
That's so bad.
That was
Why?
a pretty bad night for you.
They'd been driving. Been driving all night, and we turned up at like I must have been like 1:30 to 2 in the morning, and they set up the tent, and we just drove up there in the camper van. Me and Claire just got into our bed, and they set the tent up, and it started to hammer down, and the wind picked up really strong, and rushing down the valley like, and it was the sort of wind that went.
Yeah.
Like in huge gusts, and the tent was going flat onto their bodies. You
Yeah.
could see the shape of their bodies, and you
Yeah.
could see them glistening.
Yeah.
4 little bodies in a row, and the wind and the rain was thrashing onto them. And me and Claire looked out this window and went, Claire, should we let them sleep in there? And she just went, I just went back to sleep, and every now and then I'd hear something like hit the camper van on the side. I'd go just to see whether they were still there, whether they'd been blown away. And I had just a bad sleep. So I was like going, oh my god. In the morning, they were all so tired, so they went and got a fry up. And then we were like, right, now we're going to climb the mountain. Climb the
Wait a
mountain.
minute, we arrived.
Yeah, no, we met you halfway up the mountain, didn't we? Or
I
did you
know,
come
I
and-
think you know. We arrived, you were. Oh, they looked really haggard. But you looked all right. But all your friends had such a torrid
Oh,
night
poor
that they're
lot.
all red, black rings round their
I feel
eyes.
so guilty about
They
that.
look at
That's so evil, not letting them in the camper van. Now,
What you want to come out here for?
Completely see their bodies through the tent.
I know, it's like,
What did you do though?
Declare,
What are they gonna do? There's
insist
4 of
that
them.
you say they
Yeah, you
weren't
could
allowed
slam
in 4 in the bottom.
went-
We've got a double bed.
I went,
Was this Debbie? You had Debbie?
Debbie, yeah,
Yeah.
could have fit 4 in the
well,
bottom.
should we get them in? She just went,
How could you
Yeah,
fit
my
6
says
people
no.
in? Yeah, you could
That's
fit
it.
6
Says no.
You could
Yeah,
fit
that
6
bloke,
people in.
that bloke Andre,
This is
didn't you?
like,
Mike,
she's,
Mike,
she's
yeah, that,
lovely. That's
Mike.
not a personality.
didn't you have that chap Andre?
Yeah, I
That
agree. That's probably-
Andre was he or something?
Andy, Andreas
Oh,
Anwanda.
yeah, I remember Andy.
Oh my god, he's
I remember
amazing.
Andy.
He's in Sao Paulo now.
Is he?
Remember
Yeah.
Andy?
I would
Couldn't
have
you
got
go
out of
over-
Carpentry for artists.
No,
Oh,
you
God.
go
I
over
went
to
to
see
the-
him.
I
and
would
he
go out
did-
of tent and
wasn't
knocked on the
expecting
catty.
him. I go,
Yeah, they should have. They should have.
Well, I can tell you our
Sleeping
side.
under the
I
camera.
can tell you our side of the story. When we arrived, and you were all looking so haggard, and we decided that we were going to go and try and go up the lee side of the mountain because it was still hitting the other side of the mountain at about 70 miles an hour. We reckon you could not go up the other side of the mountain.
70
Oh,
miles.
really?
That's fast. That's very fast.
That's pretty fast. Yeah, 60 or 70. Well, I
Didn't
don't.
we have a
I
storm?
didn't have a
We had a
gauge.
storm
I'm just
recently,
guessing.
didn't we? We had a storm recently, and the winds coming through were apparently like 50.
Whatever. I don't know what it was
Probably
hitting.
faster through
It
the
was
channel
hitting
through the
really
valleys.
bad, wasn't it, Mike?
It was really bad,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
But you could go up the lee of the mountain. It was quiet, wasn't it?
If you got in the right place.
I don't know. You
not
didn't
little
realise,
willies.
but we,
Not little
me and
willies.
William and Laura,
Mike's
we
fed
went up the lee of the
The
mountain
channel.
Is it on Instagram? Is it?
with the window coming over,
Yeah.
and there were others. We weren't the only ones. But when we were about 3/4 of the way up, there was an explosion.
There.
Yeah, and we noticed. We were attracted by this noise, and there was a great spout of water went like that right over from the high up on the ridge. And I thought, well, what the hell's that? And somebody actually rang up Mountain Rescue, which was ridiculous. But I mean, they ring up Mountain Rescue for nothing, don't they? They get really annoyed. But anyway, we didn't know what it was, and later on, we went further. We went up Heather Terrace, and it happened again. And I think it must have been some sort of collection of water, which gradually reached a point where it was susceptible to the wind, and it must have blown it through a gap in some way, and it
Like
sort of
collected
gouted
up.
across like a, and then it just packed
It
up.
must have
Anyway,
gathered and then.
So that was the first alarming thing. We went up Heather Terrace to keep low behind the lee of the mountain, and it was quiet. The wind was zooming over the top, presumably. And there were other people going up. There was a gang of young fellas, and they were a bit ahead of us. And when we got to the end of Heather Terrace, you know where the mountain comes down and it goes up to Glidafar? Are you with me?
Yeah, sorry.
Glidafar.
Yeah.
Glidafar.
Glidafat, if you like. There's Glidafar and Glidafat. And there's a wall there, high wall, with a a ladder stile over the top of it. And those boys were sitting at the bottom against the wall. And we arrived there, and they were all sitting down there. And they come up at the same time as us. They were young men. And so I said, well, we stopped and sort of chatted a bit. And I know, I'm just going to have a look over the top. So I went up that ladder, that wall, and I noticed these were looking in a very sort of funny way at me, you know, a quizzical way, sort of, and thought, something's going to happen here. And I put my head over the top of there, and bloody hell, they blew it off. I mean, they'd obviously, they knew, they'd tried to get over it themselves, and it says this city. Let's see if he won. He'll probably get blown off. But I just put my head over like that, and I knew that was the end of that. So I came down, and they all looked at each other, you know, they laughed, and you know, oh, we were hoping you were going to get blown off. Thinks, you know, you could see it, you know, they were hoping that something eventful would happen. But he was just a bit too wise to sort of, you know, go the whole hog. And then so that's when we dropped down. I said, look, let's go down into the valley there, keeping in the lead. Then we'll come down the stream and we'll come back to our car, which we did. It started to rain again. We got a little bit wet, but we weren't too bad. So we got back to the car, and of course you lot had all disappeared. And I said, let's go down to that next pub. We'll go up onto the road, turn right, and go down, and there's a pub on the left. I can't remember, it's called Bryn something. And we went there, and you were all there. We spent the whole afternoon drinking and having meal. Do you remember?
Randy, yeah.
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 But
no.
you, in the meantime, you hadn't been doing nothing, because
I hadn't been
you
drinking
went
enough.
up, you took them up, your friends,
Mm.
you took your friends up, and you went up to the cannon, didn't you?
Yeah, I went over the top.
Not over the top, you couldn't have got over the top. You went up the lee to the cannon, and you must have come back again.
No, we came up and went over. I took him over.
Well, it must have been late in the afternoon then, because
Yeah.
you couldn't have gone over there.
Because Kelly was crying on the way out. And then I said, Kelly, look behind you. And there was a child just dancing. She was like really pissed off. She was really pissed off.
You were that
That
child
wasn't the
going up.
cleverest thing ever.
You were the child going up Crib Goch, Mikey, weren't you? When the American woman was going hysterical.
Yeah,
Remember
didn't I?
that?
But then
Oh,
you know
I was
what?
there.
Yeah,
She's like
you were
so.
there.
Once we got to the top and she started coming down, she's so happy. It's like the opposite of me. I'm like happy when I'm going up. I come down and my knees hurt. I'm like,
Can you close that door a bit?
It's funny, isn't it? That is
she
funny.
was so happy. She was like massive smile.
Yeah, well,
on her
it's
face,
a matter of
beaming.
achievement, isn't it? Yeah.
She's so happy.
Retrospective sort of satisfaction. Shall
I
we say.
remember walking up those hills, though. You and me, Tommy, you know, we'd be like, oh, my legs are so tired. I have to
You.
keep going. Well, when we were little, when we get up the pig track, I remember going.
Oh, you mean
I don't know,
Next
talking
guy.
about turning
Well,
back.
he went up when he was
I'm
5.
turning Back. Yeah.
He went up when he was
I've
5.
got some great pictures.
Yeah.
There's a great picture.
I showed
Cut
I
my
showed
shin.
Crib Goch to Megan yesterday or the day
Yeah.
before yesterday, and I said, look, I said Uncle Mike went up that when he was 5, and Olivia Will went up when he was 11 and I was 12, and she goes, I want to go up that, and Emma goes, you're never going up that.
You're never going up there. Well, I don't think you went Kripkov. I remember I went up Kripkov with Mike and Dad and maybe Will as well. I'm not sure. And I remember we might have gone off track a little bit, and I was trying to climb up a little bit, and I was like, Mike, I'm slipping.
That was a big. Actually, that's a crazy
And
memory.
you went basically grabbed my hand and just went. And lifted me up this cliff face, and I went whoop on top of the cliff face. I was like,
Dude, it was like pure death.
What
mind.
about
yeah,
that
I
was
falling
like
down there.
that was the end.
500,000
Mind you, I just would joke. Oh, you can't have pulled my brother up. Oh, that's it.
That
He's coming up.
cheers, Mike. That was good.
Absolutely
I was
no
getting
way.
dead
I was letting
otherwise.
go.
I think we definitely went off track because there was no
I
track.
think
Me and
Emma
Emma did that, didn't we?
I have a nice memory of Tryfan with you lot when we camped at Tryfan, but we didn't stay there because we could see that there was a cloud on Tryfan. And I said, we need to go down to Bangor and cross to Anglesey, which we did. And we had a nice day. And when we turned round, we could see that cloud was still on the top of Tryfan. It was like just there. Not just on the top of Tryfan, but the whole of Little Willie's. All
That would
around
have
there.
been rubbish inside that cloud.
Yeah. And we got our tent up. And we got in our tent. We weren't too bad. We had a dry day. And then the Chichester Girls High School on their Prince of Wales or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Prince of Edinburgh.
That's
sort
it,
of.
yeah.
They pitched up, didn't they? All these girls. They were, they'd been in the rain all day, somehow or other. They were really bedraggled. And one of them came over to me and she looked and she said, hello, what are you doing up here? You know, like we're the only ones up here in this rain, in this wind, and in this horribleness. And I said, we're on holiday. and then you lot were in a tent and you all looked out to see who's talking like this. I said, here's my sons. Are you mad? I said, no, we're all right. We've been all right all day. I said, we're not really nice and dry in the tent and snug. Yeah. Oh, she said, all right. Anyway, she went off. And next day, you remember that bloody sink was a
Yeah.
Belfast sink
Yeah,
on the
massive.
floor with a
Yeah.
snail, with a snail
Little
in it,
Willies.
with a snail in it, and she came up, and it was just cold water, and I was getting some water at something. Yeah, I was doing this. She came up. She said, "Oh, hello." Oh, I said, "Hello. How did you get on last night then?" She said, "Oh, it was terrible, terrible." I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, not all that terrible." So she said, "Oh, it was terrible." She said, "It was very wet." I said, "Why was that?" She said, "Well, it was wet, wasn't it?" So I said, "Well, yeah, it was a bit wet, but I mean, you just don't get wet when it's wet, do you?" So you get in your tent. So she says, "Yes, but it all came through the floor." So anyway, these I'm not going to drink that on top of whiskey.
I'm done.
Best of luck, mate.
Got to wash it all down top there, don't we?
Beer on whiskey makes mum frisky. Anyway, so
Right,
Helden Hayes, the second story of Helden Hayes, and there's a third story of Helden Hayes, but it's not much of a story. But it's just a photograph, and that's a crashed up Land Rover with Helden Hayes. But anyway, Helden Hayes, as I say, to remind you, he was a surveyor, and they used to go out, and they lived out there in these tents in the bush, on their own,
yeah.
with an African staff surveying for
Tent-
gold.
They're big tents, surely. Big tents.
Oh yeah, proper big tents. They weren't sort of mounted tents. They were proper tents, you know. What we used to use. You could stand up in them. That sort of tent.
Yeah, like A-frame.
Yeah.
No, not
No,
A-frame.
not like that. Pointy tents like that. But you could stand up in them. And anyway, Elwood Hayes, and another guy called Cook. He was also, but he didn't stay in the same. They had different places, different territories, and they came together. And sometimes they used to come together and used to play cards all bloody night, poker, and they played for hundreds of pounds. Oh shit! And anyway, I never
crazy.
involved myself in that. But anyway, so we decided that we'd go off on a fishing trip to the Luangwa River. Now this is a really demanding sort of expedition, because the roads down to to where we're going were almost non-existent. You can see there's a photograph there of bloody, grass growing and reeds right over the Land Rover, and we're going down here. So there's about, I don't know, 1, 2. I don't know that Peter was there, but there might have been 6 of us or something like that on this fishing expedition. And so it got dark and we hadn't done any fishing, so we decided to have a few drinks. Then we had a few more drinks, and you had a few whiskies like this, and things started to get a bit sort of erratic. One of them reckoned he could see a crocodile and he started shooting the crocodile across the river, and that I remember that. And then there was an altercation when he got really quite deep into the night, and everybody was fairly well pissed up. And
I heard you told me this, and you bought on your trip, on your fishing trip,
yeah,
4 bottles of whiskey.
oh yeah,
But there's only 3 of you.
terrible. Yeah, terrible. Terrible. Yeah. Terrible. Yeah.
That sounds
I've
just like
forgotten
you
that,
boys.
No wonder this happened, because we got a rope between 2 trees, somehow or other, and I can't remember. I think whether we got the tent suspended off this rope or something or other. Anyway, Cook and Eldon Hayes were getting pissed up, and one of them cut this rope, and the whole fell down, and the 2 of them really fell out, and they said, "I never always bloody hated you Stellenbosch." We got knives out. They were going to kill each other. We had to jump.
Yes.
We had to jump and smother them all. Terrible. It got really bad. And anyway, eventually it all calmed down. We all went to sleep, and there's a photograph of someone there, and they were all just standing. We're terrible. In the morning, we were terrible. We never did any fishing. We never caught a fish. Don't think we we cast a line. We shot at crocodiles and did all bad things.
4 bottles of whiskies, guns.
Guns, shot at
Devils
crocodiles.
on the river.
Terrible. We were terrible.
Should we go fishing? Yeah. Got 4
But
bottles
anyway,
of
we
whiskey.
didn't-
Yeah.
We
Got
were-
4 bottles of
We were
whiskey.
away from anybody, we weren't upsetting any Africans or anything. We weren't shooting at Africans or anything like that. We were shooting at crocodiles. We never upset any Africans. We were in this bloody place, but really, really bad.
Crazy fishing trip.